Hi everyone, and welcome to this UOS session about the design of scopes. We are here with people from the design team and the Unity API team. So just going to close the tab with the video because I was hearing myself. Sorry. So let's start with the design team. So guys, can you tell us who you are and what you are working on?
Sure. So my name is Patricia Davila. I work as a UX designer in the apps and platform team, and among the projects that I'm currently working on are scopes.
Hi, I'm Alex Milazzo. I'm one of the lead visual designers. I've been working on scopes, continue to working with scopes. I'm also involved in the, I'm the lead for the system. So at the moment I'm working with indicators, shell, and window management, and freezer as well.
Yes. Okay, I'm Stephanie Wilson. I am the only documentation specialist at Canonical. So I'm currently working on the design guidelines, the app design guidelines, and the scope design guidelines, translating the UX specifications for best practices for everyone to design lovely apps and scopes for Ubuntu.
Okay, thanks. So we're going to let the Unity API team present themselves. Pavel?
Yeah, my name is Pavel. I have been working with the API team, namely in the scopes team, and mostly on the scopes API and some scopes, and recently also on the shell plugin side of things.
Okay. I'm Marcus Tomlinson. I work also in the Unity APIs team. Been in the team for 2 years now, just over. And yeah, I've worked on a few different APIs, notifications, indicators, some other things, but primarily been working on scopes. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks. So make sure you prefix your questions on IRC with questions in caps. The IRC channel is ubuntu-uos-appdev, so make sure you join there for any questions. If you want to join the Hangout, feel free to do it, and we'll happily answer your question in there. So maybe Patricia, you want to start?
Sure. Okay, so I'm just going to mirror my screen to access the presentation. 1 second. Can you all see the presentation now? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So we basically wanted to talk a little bit about what has changed in the scopes over the last year, and we're going to touch on the following topics: scope filters and the new search pattern, the new DAS browser, the visual refresh and UX refresh to the scope toolkit components. We'll touch on scope previews, multi-panel layout, and scope cards, some other minor improvements and fixes, and then Steph is going to talk a little bit about our scope design guidelines. So basically, we've been asked to review the current what's the current search design and filters design, and specify new filters widgets for a scope if they were needed. So we basically identify the most commonly used filters by our content providers. We also revised and updated the design of the scope search and specify new behavior. So we introduced the search panel that includes recent search history, and also the traditional, what they used to be the scope departments, now are all available in that new search panel that is part of the header. and the keyword brick that is just basically present a composition of the query aspect that determines what content is visible at the current view. Here we have some examples of how the search panel looks like with the filter icon that is available once the user taps on the search icon. And also the filters panel, where we can see all the filters that are available since the OTA 10. And this was basically a scope that we've used to do usability testing. Here you can see how we use the keyword brick to enable the user to know which department is selected at the time, and also continue to filter in the results as the user wishes. So basically, what we wanted to do is to enable the user to start the search by either typing in a query, a keyword in the search bar, selecting a category, or by selecting a filter. So the user is available to start the search from those three starting points. From the scope author's point of view, they can choose the most appropriate filter for the content and experience that they want to provide. We allow the user to access the filter, as I said, from the scope header. So by tapping or clicking on the icon, the popover will display all the available filters, and those filters can be dismissed or reset by tapping in the reset button on the top right of the popover. We also gave consideration for conversions, how this functionality will translate across different devices and orientations, and we added the new filter widgets to the scope toolkit. After, as I mentioned, we done some usability testing, and there's like a phase 2 coming with some more improvements for what the current filtering and searching experience in scopes is including. Any scope author can enjoy now the use of the available filters that are now as a range categorical filter, the option selector, multiple and single selector, the slide value, one-way slide value, and the collapsing and expanding widget. And then we have next items on our implementation backlog. Here is just a visual example of what other filter widgets we have in the list, as I said. Bear in mind that all the images that I'm showing in this presentation are work in progress. So yeah, some of the colors, some of the spacing or font sizes might be now updated, or sorry, out of date. So yeah, I know there's a session tomorrow to dive more about Scopes API. So probably yeah. Pavel will have much more to say about filters for the interest of developers. Let's talk now about the DAS browser. So the next two major DAS-related projects are the new DAS browser, and this basically places the scopes inside like a web browser UI, obviously without the URL bar. But it transforms every scope into a tab, into very, very aligned with our browser app. And the other also major project that is related with the scopes is the visual refresh. And this will provide a much more needed facelift to the look and feel of all the scopes. And we will be starting the implementation of the new scope cards very soon. We'll touch on that with more detail further down the presentation. So the overview, general overview of the changes are that we've mapped the browser UX to the dash and used the tab patterns for the overall behavior and navigation. We also replaced the Manage Dash screen with an enhanced scope store discovery experience. So in this case, you can see now a mock-up of how the storage scope will look like. Users can discover new scopes much more easily, access the recent scopes that they've opened before, or access their favorite scopes. you can see both phone and tablet or phone and desktop mockups here, and as I mentioned, we've taken the pattern, the tab pattern from the browser. In the DAS, we will also access these tabs from the bottom edge. That will bring us all the open scopes, and they would the user will be able to close them as well, same as the browser. So we've also introduced another different is the open and close concept tab to replace the install and manage scopes. So it would be much more easier for users to discover new scopes. And the main different tab from the others is the Today scope tab that will always be fixed and won't be able to be closed, but that will have all the favorite apps and your music, and that will be always in the left corner and fixed to the top in the smaller screen device. So we designed this concept for all input and usage modes at the same time: phone and mouse, touch only, windowed mode, etc. And as a principle, we refrained from adding or removing any UI components unless they were really necessary. However, we can differentiate between pointer and touch input. So depending on the interaction triggered by the user, how that interaction is triggered, we can show one or another. So now Alex is going to talk a little bit about the Scope Toolkit Visual Refresh.
Yes. So when we started working with the Scope Refresh, we wanted to make sure that the new Scopes components are designed alongside with the SDK components, providing a seamless experience. We also used a lighting to give a constant look and feel across the system. You might have noticed that apps like telephony, clock, and calendar system settings share the same look and feel, and of course the browser as well. In the UI, every component needs to feel like they all belong to each other. Elements like typography, spacing, proportions have all been updated to our visual sort of style. Yeah.
So one other thing that I forgot to mention, and that I think people will be happy to know, is that the Today Scope will have this big banner card that will be customizable. So the user can choose the image that they want to personalize their home with. So I'm gonna quickly touch on the other Scope Toolkit updates. We've worked on the multi-panel layout. We chose a common design pattern for the device orientation called complementary layout. So when a change in the orientation is triggered, an auxiliary screen is, appears with the relevant supplementary information. Here we have 3 panels: one fixed one with categories, secondary one with the content, the grid of cards, and then the third one, which is triggered once the user starts playing the first card. That adds the additional information with the scope preview. We have another example with a nearby scope. As you can see already, there are some changes on how the current scope cards look like, but we're going to touch a little bit more on that later. So the previews, we wanted to make scope previews a bit more richer, so they will allow the user to scan quickly through the main useful information and take instant actions. So there's different sections: the header section, the main information one, the primary actions, as I said. For example, a card that will have information such as a shop or a restaurant nearby will allow you to call the restaurant if you tap on the call item, and it will trigger the phone app. Also, we want to allow for further exploration and provide related and complementary information such as reviews, other car recommendations, or ratings, etc. So if the user wants to dive into the details, they can find interesting information in the preview, as well as quick actions. Here you have some more examples, some more mock-ups on how the new scope previews will look like with all the elements that I just mentioned. It's quite a big change on the visual style, as Alex mentioned, much more aligned with the platform, rest of the platform. Another big change that we've designed over the past few months has been the scope cards. So our end goal was to design cards that will behave in a consistent and predictable fashion and will show useful information and present that information to the users in a consistent look and feel across any device and any screen size. And for that, we took a modular approach. So cards will work for any type of content. So as we currently had before, the art and header and summary, we also had now a social subcomponent and an action subcomponent. So the card template will only differ in the way the scope author arranged those components and the number of elements that are used to generate that layout. Here we have some examples of minimum configuration of card templates, where an art and a header, or an art header with some other attributes like the rating, the price, or the timestamp. And here we have examples of maximum configuration of card components, card subcomponents, where we can see the social subcomponent. We don't have an example for rating or with actions, but we will also allow for quick actions. So
Yes, I also wanted to add that when we designed the scope cards, what we wanted to achieve is that regardless of the configurations of the scope by the scope author, the card are maintaining the same UI standard that we are set to achieve with the UX.
So regarding the interaction with cards, we rethought how people will interact with the cards for media consumption. So they will be able to play audio inline, and we wanted to enable some basic social media interactions, and all this from the scope main view. So where the user may need to take some contextual actions on the information presented in a card, we can provide some action subcomponents. The rule of thumb for this interaction, or for interacting with these cards, is that it has to be only for media consumption, as I mentioned, and further interactions with the card content, such as adding a review, editing, content creation, or other actions that may need more content, then those actions should be done from the card preview page. And lastly, some other improvements that we've recently discussed regarding scopes are improving the usability of the app's scope to make for example, the store scope a top-level scope by default, rather than having a link at the bottom of the app's scope, and adding a recent or frequently used apps category. Also, we are looking at adding some of the scope toolkits, migrating them to the SDK. We will start with the card component implementation soon, and will be done, I think, by our team. And also, I found out that today the dash rotation was made available in RC Propose, which I think is a really nice improvement. And now Steph will talk us through a little bit about her work regarding the Scopes design guidelines.
So we've had a lot of questions, such as why would I develop a scope over an app, and where do scopes and apps fit in the whole ecosystem? So this is where hopefully the design guidelines come in to explain the difference and the benefits of developing and designing a scope or an app and what you can get out of it. So currently the scope and app design guidelines are separate on the Ubuntu design site. So as we move towards merging the scope and UI toolkit, we want to find a way to communicate this effectively by creating best practices and giving rationale behind developing a scope or an app on Ubuntu by using our tools, and ultimately enabling you to get the best out of them. So this is where we need your help and feedback. We want to know what you, as a developer or designer or enthusiast, would want to know, and what you would want to look for in designing a scope. So our RIC names are on the end slide, I believe. So yeah, feel free to contact any of us, and we're now open to questions. Thank you.
Yeah, so do we have any question already, or anyone wants us to develop further on something?
Well, we have a few questions on IRC, but I'm going to wait for 10 seconds.
Okay.
No, the first one is Neil MCB asking if the slides are going to be available somewhere.
Sure, yeah. I can post a link here or anywhere. Shall I post it here? Will that make it available?
Well, you can post it on IRC, and I'll make sure it's available in the session description.
Okay.
So we have other questions. Livogio asking, when on my phone, with multiple question marks and exclamation marks.
Sorry, say that again?
When on my phone.
When on my phone. So as I said, we're gonna start with the core component implementation soon, which exactly when I cannot tell, because yeah, we will. You will have to sync with the engineering cycles, but everyone, like these projects are, the new big changes on the scopes have been signed off, and the design is finished and tested, and we continue to look for improvements to it. When on the phone, I don't know. I could say in the next 6 months, by my experience in this company. I think everyone is on board, and it's a change that it would be really great for the usability of the scopes and the joy of using it, basically.
I think this answers the question. Pavel and Marcus, do you have any more precisions on the ETA of these changes?
No, sorry. That's basically a joint effort of many teams to basically to deliver something like that. Scopes API is just one of the components. Usually, most of the visual work is Unity 8 side and SDK side. I cannot speak for them. I don't know.
I can add that they were currently scoping out the work that they will have to do, and specifying as well, and breaking down chunks for the implementation. So it's already ongoing, but of course it's a big project that will, as Pavel said, involves a lot of teams, so it will take some time.
But filters are already there. The scopes are coming. The scopes utilizing filters are coming. I will give some examples tomorrow on the session of the scopes that are expected to be delivered soon with the upcoming OTA.
Okay, next question. Chloe Wolfie Girl is asking, with the new scopes, has there been thoughts for themes or background images so people don't have to see white if they'd rather see a darker color, maybe because it's late, or to make their phone more their own?
Sorry, if I understood right, is they are asking if there is a design for customizing the background?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
So as I mentioned, we will have these this feature that I consider really interesting that will allow the user to set like a banner for the today's scope. However, we won't enable, or is not in this design iteration, to enable a custom wallpaper or background for scopes. We're using our Sur background.
Yes, for the time being, yes. But as we said, the visual is still work in progress.
Mika68 is asking, has there been any thinking about discrete pages of content rather than continuous scroll? For apps, I believe that this is what customers expect, and it's easier to get where you want by muscle memory. So I think he's talking about fixed pages of results instead of scrolling.
Fixed pages of results instead of scrolling.
Like you would have on iOS, for example.
Probably.
Yeah, I think so. Patricia, we can't hear you, I think. Pavel, Marcus, can you hear Patricia?
No.
No, I can't either. Stephanie or Alex, can you try to unmute and see if the sound is better?
You're muted, Alex.
Alex or Stephanie, can you? Oh, Stephanie.
Yep.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, with a lot of echo. But we can't hear Patricia anymore. Patricia, can you try again? No, we can't hear you. Maybe you should leave the Hangout and come back. All right. So.
Hello, can you hear us now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, cool. Sorry about this.
So I think the question was about paginations of results.
Pagination of results.
Instead of scrolling.
Well, currently we have see more, see less pattern. There is
So the question was, about pagination.
Disclose that.
Pagination of results. Pagination of results.
Do you close it? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
My apologies about this. So currently we have the see more, see less pattern to display more results. We have some.
And we can hear you. Alex, can you try unmuting? Oh, someone else has just joined. Hi, Benoit. Okay, so we are trying to get the sound for Patricia back. Patricia, can you try unmuting again?
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yay.
Okay, Steph's session crashed, and with it, I just replugged to the microphone. Okay, sorry. I don't know. Could you hear anything about what I said?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so just gonna repeat. So basically, we currently have, in order to see more results when you're in a scope, you have the see more, see less pattern. We do have some alternative designs to change that, but we haven't tested yet. So there's not new. There's not plans for changing that at this point, or adding including paginations on the scope results.
Yeah, unfortunately, see more. I mean, see all doesn't solve the issues that the pagination would solve. Like you have infinite amount of results, and you want just to be able to scroll and paginate to them, like a lot of web services have. I think that's the main driver for this question. In fact, I had this question already from Kyle Nietzsche. Kyle Nietzsche is a guy who implemented a lot of our scopes, the scopes you have on the device. He would also like to see that kind of feature.
All right. So next question. Oh, from Red Boxes. Why are so many tech sites confused about scopes? Who wants to take this one?
What's that? Sorry, say it again.
Why are so many tech websites confused about scopes?
Okay.
Okay, that's a tricky one.
Well, I don't know if that's completely true. I feel that people haven't seen or haven't appreciated the full potential of scopes. I guess that's more a question for someone from marketing or PM. I think from the design point of view and from the user experience, they are useful. They provide you the information that you need quickly and at a glance and in a congregated way. But yeah, I don't know. I think our product is still young as well, and people are adopting. Do you have any thoughts?
Sorry. So yeah, as I'm the current scope design guide, I did a page about introducing scopes and how they work and how they fit into the old model that we had. But yeah, we got a lot of questions of like, oh, so why should I make an app or a scope or an app? What should I make? So that's what we're trying to figure out as well, like how designers and developers are coming to Ubuntu and what they see first. And I think scopes are it's like a quick framework that you can just plug into. There's not much. There's customization and stuff like that, and apps is a lot more. There's a lot more stuff you can do, but I don't know. It's something we're still trying to define. I think that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, I think maybe I could say something here. Probably the confusion around scopes originate from the current navigation, in that they're pretty much like apps, but they're not completely like apps. So there's probably a confusion between what a scope really is and what an app is. So the question really is, how do I tell the difference between a scope and an app? And what I really like about the new designs we're moving towards is that we're putting scopes into a more recognizable format, which is something that looks like a browser. And that really makes a lot of sense for what a scope does. Because the scope is, and to answer the question, when do you make a scope, when do you make an app? The thing is there's a lot of applications or a lot of reasons to write an application simply to consume data from an online service. And Scopes really gives you an easy entry point to write a client for an online service without having to get into too much complicated UI work that's really unnecessary. So it gives you a native look, something that looks native to Ubuntu. It sits there right onto the home screen. So yeah, it's right up front. You as a developer, as long as your application is something that is consuming an online service, Scope is definitely the #1 choice to go. So yeah, I think probably with the new browser kind of look to the Scopes navigation, I think Scopes will find their place a lot better in Ubuntu. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people involved in Ubuntu are in love with the idea of scopes, and we have been moving forward to the right presentation for them. And that's why I enjoy a lot this new design, because it feels right. We have another question. Redboxes is asking, what are your favorite scopes and why? So I guess this is for all of you.
My favorite scope is definitely music, because I use different services in one scope. So rather than switch between apps, let's say, or different scopes, I use one aggregator, which gives me all the music that I want to listen from different sources. So for me, definitely not music.
Yeah, I like music as well. I think Nearby is a really good one, because especially in London, it's something to do on a weekend, or you're just literally leaving work, and it pulls feeds from like Time Out and stuff like that. It's quite a quick little fix. Yeah, to do stuff. So yeah, I like that.
So for me, it's Nearby as well. I really like, yeah, to be able to search for some, I don't know, something new, some new restaurants, some new place that I've never been before around a new area. So Nearby is my one. Well.
My favorite scope, that will be music. Now with the inline playback, it's really convenient to use.
What about you, Marcus?
Yeah, I have to agree. The music scope is my favorite. One really awesome thing about the music scope, or scopes like the video scope as well, is there are aggregators that aggregate a certain type of scope. So if you use the keywords functionality well enough, as long as you add the music keyword to your scope, it'll show up in the music scope, which a good example of that came out of our scopes competition, where we had a Deezer scope entry, and I installed the Deezer scope, and it showed up in my music scope, so it was awesome.
And I have two favorites. The first one would be news. I use it a lot. I've made it to aggregate most French news scopes that are available. So it's very cool. And the second one would be Freesound, which is one of the winners of the Scope Showdown, and it looks like this. Yeah, and basically there is inline playback, so you can just search for any kind of sound and just play it. It's not very useful unless you are searching for a very specific sound. But just playing with it feels nice, and nice experience. So next question. We got two comments about Patricia, why don't you use Ubuntu at least for this presentation? It makes me sad. And another one, which is, does the design team use Ubuntu in their workflow at all?
What?
Does the design team use Ubuntu in their workflow at all? I guess we can cover both at the same time, because I'm pretty sure you guys are used to your tools.
I mean, I have these debates every 2 days. I have no problem of answering. We do use Ubuntu, of course we do. We cannot design a product that we don't use and we don't know. But also we use another design tools that are available for Ubuntu, such as Sketch. So I have Ubuntu installed in a ThinkPad in my desk, and now I'm using the Mac. I don't know. I mean, yeah, we do use it.
Thanks.
Sorry, but of course we use it. It's
Yeah.
a little bit of a cheeky question because without us being able to use it, we won't be able to design our products.
Yes, I think it was a bit of trolling. So next question, we have already covered it a little bit. What should be a scope and what should be an app? What are the advantages of making a scope instead of an app? So I think Marcus covered this one pretty well. Unless someone want to add something?
Yeah, I guess there was one comment from Dobie about people might start with the scope and then they want to add an ad to it, and then they don't know what to do, or they're requesting some crazy HTML file style things for scopes that we don't have in the design. I think that's not a problem because scopes really are not going to take you that long to develop. If you're not comfortable with C++, we have JavaScript bindings. If you're not comfortable with JavaScript, there's Go bindings. As long as you pick the language you're comfortable with, it's really, really quick to write a scope. It's not like you're going to waste time, and you're going to get to market much quicker.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I like to think of scopes as simply as search plugins. So you need to ask yourself a question: if what I'm doing fits a search plugin paradigm. If not, then you have an answer.
We also had an API question, which was, when will we get Python bindings back? I guess it's more a question for tomorrow's session. But Marcus or Powell, do you have like a quick word to say about this?
No, we don't have Python on the books. It's just not in our plan to do another, not to do a Python binding at least.
Yeah.
We don't. A binding isn't something we just kind of bind and leave alone. It does require maintenance, and it does require a whole development story behind it. So we do take it seriously when we do pick a language. We do want to make the entire experience as good as possible. So with JavaScript, it's not just a language. There's the NPM modules and integration with. We're working with package JSON files now and other sort of things. So just to throw in another language isn't that simple. So unfortunately, Python is not in the plans now.
Right, and the reality is that our team, the Scopes team, is like 4 or 5 people, and there's only so much we can do. We are basically involved in a couple of projects already. As Marcus said, but there's nothing stopping community contributions with regard to bindings. There is basically, if you make a binding, we cannot stop you from making bindings. We cannot stop community from making bindings and maintaining bindings. I think. Can we, David?
No, we can't and we shouldn't. So, Tamarsan, yes, is asking, how about implementing an optional dark theme for scopes, like music app? Much more comfortable for the eye, above all, at night.
Sorry, I couldn't hear. Could you repeat the question? Was for us or?
Right. Yes, it was for you. How about implementing an optional dark theme for scopes, like the music app?
Oh, I see. Do you want to answer that question?
Sorry, what was your question?
The implementing an optional black theme, a dark theme, like the music app.
Oh yes. At the moment, we're only going for a light theme. There are talks about introducing an optional darker theme, but it's still work in progress. There are still discussions, but for now, we're sticking to the light theme.
All right. Do we have any more questions? Kazord is asking, are there plans for more widgets like list selection?
Not at the moment. So we have a long list of widgets to implement in our backlog, but further down the line. In terms of preview widgets and filter widgets, yeah, we have already some new designs that need to be implemented. So yeah, I mean they can always report a wish list flag in Launchpad, and we will take it into consideration, but not in the current plans of this redesign at least.
User 20 is asking, in the past, it was possible to show the Twitter trends in the 2D scope. Any plans to bring this feature back?
Any plans for bring this back?
To bring this feature back, the Twitter trends in the 2D scope.
Not as far as I know. Not as far as I know, but the today scope design and what sources are providing content there changes depending on country as well, and changes a little bit over time. So I don't see why not. I'm not aware of that feature of that category.
Yeah, I'm not aware of the Twitter feed being removed actually. I think it's still there. Perhaps you're not logged into Twitter on your phone? I'm not sure.
I don't think you need to log into Twitter to see the scopes, the trend from the scope. I think the Twitter trending, I still have it on my phone, and if I open it, yeah, it's working. So I guess it's just not properly aggregated anymore, or something like that. But yeah, we'll look into it. Maybe you could file a bug for it. Not sure where. Marcus, where would someone file a bug on the 2D scope?
I will paste the link in the chat.
Thank you. So we are out of questions for now. Patricia, could you paste the link of the presentation on IRC, please?
Sure.
Oh, and Marcus just pasted the link to the scope bugs on Launchpad. Thanks. On IRC, sorry.
I will just paste it as well in the summit.ubuntu.com session.
Well, if you can do this, yeah, sure.
Yep.
Thanks. We have 4 minutes left, and no more questions apparently. What's your favorite thing to all of you in this new design?
So what is your favorite?
Favorite improvement, favorite feature, favorite new thing?
For me, definitely the way the cards are organized, the modular input, and also the previews as well.
So for me, I think in general the biggest improvement is the scopes navigation. We had several usability problems on how the pagination was currently is designed and accessing different scopes. So I think like a quicker access to the Ubuntu store scope, and also a different way of navigating. Like as we said, people are familiar with the browser. We've done some testing with a couple of prototypes before this design was approved, and people feel really confident and familiar with the design because it has all commonly known patterns in terms of navigation content and browsing content. So that's for me the main improvement of this project.
Looks like we have a few more questions, so sorry if I'm interrupting anyone who was about to talk. But Chloe Wolfigirl is asking, will the new scope things like removing of favorites, the new bottom edge, and the new bottom edge be something that's easy to get used to those who are used to using today's scope integration? Will there be swiping left to right with scopes you want to keep open, and have them all open from boot? My setup is I have the 2D scope, then picture scope, then app scope. So basically, will you be able to keep the same workflow?
To keep the same workflow?
Yeah, the swiping workflow in the new design.
Oh, to maintain like the 5 scopes that are like in the top level navigation by default, right?
I think so, but I think she's talking about the swiping left and right.
But the hand gesture.
But you mean in the current DAS when you navigate from one scope to another and you swipe? Okay, so of course the way you interact with scopes it will change. It goes in smaller screen devices. You access the open scope tabs by the bottom via the bottom edge, so you can see those 5 or 10 or 20 or 2 favorite scopes. And in terms of larger screen devices, you can have them as in a conventional browser in the shape of tabs. But it completely maps to what we currently have, but avoids the interactional usability problems that we had. Because before we also have the horizontal navigation for changing from one scope to another, and also the carousel in some categories that was making some conflicts on interactions. With this new concept, new way of navigating, that's solved. But you can have the same kind of features, let's say, or favorite scopes that you currently have now with the new concept.
And we have another related question about scope navigation. Why didn't you make dot clickables to navigate faster to specific scopes?
Why don't you make?
The dots, currently on the phone you have positional dots at the top.
Right. So because we consider several options when we were redesigning the way to navigate the scopes, and like in that case, I mean, making the dots clickable is a really small target. You can be precise with a pointer, but with a touch, it will probably make interaction problems. You can easily tap in the other dot and go to another scope that you didn't mean to go. I mean, we consider several concepts, and after doing some prototypes and doing some usability testing, we decided to go for this one. Users, as I said, feel very confident in the way they browse and search for content, and they are familiar with the browser-like UI.
Okay, thanks. Just one other thing. Can you make sure the presentation is public right now? Apparently, it's not.
Right. Sure. And I'll post it in the RC as well. Yeah.
Thanks. So with this, the session is now over. So thank you everyone for joining. It was really great. to talk about this and to show this. We know you have been working on this for quite some time now, so it's very exciting to see it taking shape like this. So thank you all for joining and for presenting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for watchers, don't forget we have Scopes API session tomorrow. I think it's at 15 UTC. Is that right, Marcus?
Sorry, it is at 15 UTC, yes.
Yes. Right, so thanks everyone, and we have another session. What was the next session? Oh, you have 1 hour for lunch, according to the schedule. And after that, there is a plenary with Mark Shuttleworth's Q&A, so don't miss this. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.